Welcome back to Social Science class, Political Science, Electoral Politics, Part 2. We will commence this Part 2 with the topic Election Procedure. Under the election procedure, we have various headings like voters list, nomination of candidates, election campaign, polling and counting of votes, election petitions. So now let us start with the explanation of all these election processes which I have told you right now. The very first step for the election process is the formation of voters list. In a democratic election, the list of those who are eligible to vote is prepared much before the election and given to everyone, which is officially called the electoral roll and is commonly known as voters list. It is the responsibility of the government to get the names of all the eligible voters put on the voters list. The voters are required to carry election photo identity card EPIC when they go out to vote so that no one else can vote for someone else. But the card is not yet compulsory for voting as there are many other options also which could be carried as a proof of identity like the ration card or the driving license. The second step comes the nomination of candidates. Nomination of those candidates who are standing in election. Anyone who can be a voter can also become a candidate in elections. The candidate should be a minimum of 25 years age, and every person who wishes to contest an election has to fill out a nomination form and give some money as security deposit. The candidate has to make a legal declaration giving full details about himself or herself. The important details which are required like the serious criminal cases pending against the candidate, details of the assets and liabilities of the candidate and his or her family, educational qualifications of the candidate. This information is made available to the public so that voters can make their decision on the basis of the information provided by the candidates. Now the one question comes that is it necessary for the candidate to be highly qualified? Is the educational qualification the important criteria to stand in an election? That this topic, this query, we can explain, we can justify with the help of one of the example as educational qualifications are not relevant to all kinds of jobs. The relevant qualification for selection to the Indian cricket team, for example, is not the attainment of the educational degree, but it is necessary that the person should have the ability to play cricket well. Similarly, the relevant qualification for being an MLA or an MP is the ability to understand people's concern, problems, and to represent their interests. Whether they can do so or not is examined by lakhs of examiners, their voters, after every 5 years. Even if education was relevant, it would be left to the people to decide how much importance they give to educational qualifications. In our country, putting an educational qualification would go against the spirit of democracy, yet for one more reason. Because if a graduate degree like BA, BCom, or BSc was made compulsory for candidate, then more than 90% of the citizens in our country will become ineligible to contest elections. Our third topic comes election campaign. The election campaigns are conducted to have a free and open discussion about who is better, representative, and in turn which party will make a better government. In India, election campaigns take place for a 2-week period between the announcement of the final list of candidates and the date of polling. During this period, the candidates contact their voters, political leaders, address election meetings, and political parties mobilize their supports. Some of the successful slogans given by different political parties in various elections are like Garibi Hatao, remove poverty. This slogan has been given by Indira Gandhi at the time of Lok Sabha elections of 1971. Save Democracy was the slogan given by Janata Dal in the next Lok Sabha elections held in 1977. The Left Front, it has used the slogan Land to the Tiller in the West Bengal Assembly elections held in 1977. Protect the self-respect of the Telugus was the slogan used by N.T. Rama Rao, the leader of the Telugu Desam Party in Andhra Pradesh Assembly elections in 1983. According to the India's election law, no party or candidate can bribe or threaten voters. No party or candidate can appeal to them in the name of caste or religion. No party or candidate can use government resources for election campaign. No party or candidate can spend more than 25 lakhs in a constituency for a Lok Sabha election or 10 lakh in a constituency in an assembly election. If any political party does so, their election can be rejected by the court. Beside the election laws, there are some model code of conduct also which has to be followed by the various political parties for election campaign. According to this, no party or candidate can use any place of worship for election propaganda. No party or candidate can use government vehicles, aircraft, and officials for elections. No party or candidate can, once the elections are announced, Then ministers shall not lay foundation stones of any projects or take any big policy decisions or make any promises to provide public facilities. The next topic comes the polling and counting of votes. After election campaign, the day comes for polling the votes. The day when the voters cast or poll their vote is called the election day. The voting is done in the following manner. Every person whose name is on the voters list can go to the nearby polling booth. Once the voter goes inside the booth, the election officials identify her, put a mark on her or his finger, and allow the person to cast their vote. An agent of each candidate is allowed to sit inside the polling booth and ensure that the voting takes place in a fair way. In the early times, the ballot paper was used to cast the vote. A ballot paper is a sheet of paper on which the names of the contesting candidates along with their party names and symbols are listed. The ballot paper was used earlier, and nowadays we are using the electronic voting machines called as EVM to record the votes. The machine shows the names of the candidates and the party symbols. The voter has to just press the button against the name of the candidate she wants to give her vote to. Once the polling is over, all the EVMs are sealed and taken to a secure place. A few days later, all the EVMs are opened and votes secured by each candidate are counted. The candidate who secures the highest number of votes from a constituency is declared elected. Now, the last step is the election petition. This election petition could be filed after declaration of the results even. Any elector or candidate can file an election petition if he or she thinks there has been malpractice during the election. An election petition is not an ordinary civil suit, but treated as a contest in which the whole constituency is involved. Election petitions are tried by the High Court of the state involved, and if upheld, can even lead to the restaging of the election in that constituency. An election petition calling in question an election shall be filed within the time period of 45 days from the date of declaration of results. Our next topic comes: what makes elections in India democratic? This topic we will commence in the next class. Thank you.